When the fans leave a theatre after a show, I've got to get all the equipment, you know, anything from 10 to 15 tonnes of it, onto my trucks, and then it travels through the night to the next venue so that it can be set up, checked, tested, so the show can go on in time the next day. We can't be late.
Marillion, alive and well in Annecy, south of France. But no way would they be up there if it were not for an unsung band of heroes. For a group of their status, they need a massive team to serve them on tour. There's the lighting designer, who supplies the visual trickery, so much part of rock and roll in the 80s. The sound person, who cements subtle bricks of sound to supposed walls of noise. Add a team of some 30 people, and, ladies and gentlemen, that is the show.
Merci beaucoup, merci. Au revoir. Good night, take care.
With the amazing amount of energy the average rock and roll band exude in a 2-hour gig, and Marillion are definitely no exception, then you'd expect them to work up quite a sweat.
I'm sure you're sweat. Yeah, we too.
The aspiring pop stars of yesterday, it seems, are now the perspiring stars of today.
What we doing? Yeah. Time for a beer then. We usually just have a cup of tea, you know.
For Fish and the band, the night's work is over. But for the road crew, the real sweat is yet to come. Marillion's rise and rise to true superstar status has inevitably led to a need for a bigger live show and a set to match. It means hiring the best, characters like truckmaster Mark Gutierrez. Based in Dis, he's worked with the best, Prince, Elton John, Status Quo, you name it. And now he's boss of his own £2.5 million trucking empire. But with the time at 11 o'clock in the French Alps, he's part of Marillion.
The object of the exercise now is to get all this equipment off the stage and into the trucks as quickly as possible, hopefully within 2 hours, and get it on the road to Paris, and we're going to try and make 8 o'clock in the morning.
The word in this game is graft, but skill too in a constant battle to beat the clock. And it's a game too that Mark's been playing for some years.
I started in the music business in about 1970, 1971, driving a Ford Transit. That, I suppose then I was the archetypal roadie, where I used to drive the van, carry all the equipment, mix the sound, and virtually do everything myself. Now the business has changed. It's now a multi-million-pound industry. You have specialist teams. You have service companies like ourselves, the trucking company. You have a coach company that specialises in providing passenger transport for the bands and crews. You have lighting companies that solely supply the lighting rigs and the associated special effects. You have other companies that supply very highly sophisticated sound systems.
Okay, guys.
This is no time for chiefs and Indians. Even the bosses get their hands dirty in this game. And that's Andy Field, the production manager. The lighting crew have to stand aside from all this bustle of activity while the stage is cleared. Then they can get at their beloved lights. It's brief respite for lighting designer Robert Fleury, alias Chops.
It's a very rewarding job to actually produce a show and put it on the stage. It starts by getting to know the band's music and learning what they want, what they want to feel on stage. Then have to think about it and interpret it on paper and try and interpret the music live on stage with lights so it all links up together. It takes about a week to put it down on paper. and working on all the desk channels and the rack channels and the sort of focus on those colours and bulb types. Then after that, it gets agreed and there's a budget laid down for us, and we all agree on prices and things like that. Then we take it into the warehouse in Birmingham and put the system together. We spend about a week doing that. There's a 5-man crew on this one. Whereas I have a number one who deals with dimmer racks and mains, and I do the rigging, so putting in the roof as well on tour. And we all share in jobs during the day anyway. So after we've built it in the warehouse, we go to production rehearsals and try it all out, make sure it works there, and chop and change things around. And off we go to the first gig, which we do then back to back and don't get any sleep. It gets very tiring. But that's basically what we do.
And back to back means a string of dates stretching over months, day in, day out. A shattering schedule, and always a race against time.
Yeah, turn me out something.
Fais-le glisser de l'autre côté derrière. Hein?
Le swag!
It's now half an hour since the band came off stage. All the band's guitars, amplifiers, keyboards and drums have been packed away in their cases. They're now just starting to take all the electrical wires from all the sound system and the lighting system, and they'll shortly be bringing the lighting system down onto the stage where they can start dismantling it. At the same time, we'll see the sound cabinets being unstacked, getting ready to go onto their truck.
Bring down again!
Equipment's very fragile, so they've got to make sure that when it goes into the truck and it's packed, it can't move so none of it gets damaged. On the other hand, they've got to do it quickly because we've got to get out of here.
So it's goodbye and au revoir to Annecy. 2.5 hours after the concert ended, 15 ton of stage set and lights is now packed into the 3 40-foot trucks, all ready to roll into the night. Destination, Paris.
Tonight we're going to use the road up through Frangy out of Annecy. We got 650 k's to do, which is at least 6 hours. We're going to have to stop somewhere along the way, obviously, for a statutory break, so I think we'll stop here at Bone, just sort of Bone. This is going to take a little bit of a while, but I think that's the quickest route, rather than going around on the motorway. Okay?
Right.
It's 2 a.m. French time, and for the three truck drivers, Martin, Mick and Brian, is the start of a long haul. The equivalent of driving from London to Glasgow at night and on the wrong side of the road. For them, however, is not unusual. They've already driven 7,000 miles in the first fortnight of the tour, and they will top 14,000 by the time this month-long jaunt is over. The crew bus follows the lorries out. The lads have had a quick shower and settled down to a few well-earned beers. It's a chance to unwind at the end of what's been a 17-hour day. Did I say lads? There's a girl on the bus, Toots the costume lady, and Strictly Everyone's little sister. For the crew, the bus is home for a month. Not very big, but it's home. For them, the distance to Paris is measured in hours of sleep. The trucks press on through the night, and keeping fresh and alert is a major problem. But toll booths provide some relief to the monotony. It will cost £50 in fees tonight for each lorry. Oh, I think the clutch just let itself out. That could spell trouble. There's never a good time for a mechanical problem, but right now, it is the last thing they need. But they can't hang about. No choice but to go for it. Dawn breaks, and the drivers have been on the road for just over 3 hours. Even though time is of the essence, both truckers and trucks have to stop to refuel. Thirsty Beasts trucks averaging 9 miles to a gallon. On tonight's manic mission to Gay Paris, each truck will use over 45 gallons of diesel. That's another 65 quid each. No matter what you say, this rock and roll trucking is an expensive business, and a precarious one too. So what about that clutch?
We're having a little bit of bother. It's 5:30 in the morning. We're about halfway through the run. This truck's had some problems with its clutch, again. So when we get to Paris, we'll have to have it looked at. But I think it's going to make Paris.
Is it safe?
It's perfectly safe to drive. It just means you're driving without a clutch.
200 miles without a clutch. Not much of a prospect for Brian. Better have some brekkie. Whether it's France, Britain or anywhere, motorway food always tastes the same. But if you've been driving all night, strong coffee is just what's needed, especially with the notorious Paris Ring Road, the périphérique at the end of the line. It makes the M25 look like a Sunday afternoon stroll.
Can you get round that periphery again?
Who can tell?
You got to try it? Or drop it on outside Paris?
Oh, I'm going through us.
God, you got to try it. Dear.
Queues for miles and Brian holding everything up.
Well,
you do a double run.
You two can clear the track, can't you?
You have to go first, eh?
Well, you can, like, push them away.
We can have a back there.
It's your choice if you want to risk going round there.
OK, well, let's see what it's like when we get to the playhouse just outside Paris.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's about 50 k's out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, yeah.
The first major problem is to get up Dijon Bank.
You want to hit that in a low gear when you first get there, don't you? Keep down the box so you don't have to change again.
Yeah, well, it might take me an hour to get up there then.
Yeah, you reckon you'll make it like that?
Yeah, what time is it now?
I ain't got a clue.
Oh my God, 26.
20 to 6. It's going to be about...
It's 300 k's, 320 k's.
It's going to be about 9:30 by the time we get there. Most of it will have gone. It should be... Apparently it should be running. What, you think so?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. Go for it then.
Sun up, and with memories of Annecy fading fast, the trucks push on in the final run-in. Paris beckons, but for Martin, problems. Would you believe it? A puncture. And that's vital time lost. The other two have no choice but to press on regardless. And then, just to add to the fun, the jack starts to leak. With seconds to spare, the wheel is changed, despite our friend Jack. While Truckmaster Mark heaves a sigh of relief, that was a close-run thing, Martin tightens the nuts on his precious load, and then it's back behind the wheel, and it's on the road again. Martin is now really up against it. It's now 9:30, and Martin's now an hour behind schedule, as he too faces up to the Périphérique. While he struggles to make up lost time, at the prestigious Zenith gig in Paris, the other two are already there, and work is beginning. While Martin grits his teeth, the Périphérique has him in its grasp. Meanwhile, back at the gig, things are buzzing. And for Martin, relief as the traffic moves at last. It's now 10:30 and the lighting crew are hard at work. These lads are the most sleep-starved. Last to bed, first up. Finally, Martin has the huge 6,000-seater venue in sight. And as lead driver, relief. Brian's truck has made it. It's a much bigger proposition than Annecy, and of course the bigger the gig, the bigger the problems. Unlike last night where the lights were on poles, tonight they've literally got to be hung from the ceiling. Chops is aloft inspecting the positions from which he's going to hang his lighting rig. No mean responsibility.
So on this system, on the lighting system, we have 8 points, which I've just had to put in the roof. So I'm flying about 5 tonne altogether on 8 points. And then there's 4 PA points with about 4 tonnes altogether. I do it myself because I like to put my system where I want it, not where anybody else wants it. Everything I do, I check and double check. I mean, you only have one chance, and that's to put it in the first time, and it works. Because if a point goes, then it's goodbye.
Chops and his crew will hang, focus and train 350 lamps today, and they've lost track of the miles of cable they need. Meanwhile, the sound crew are getting the giant speakers in place. Some of them are going up in the roof as well. They each produce 1,000 watts of sound, and today's gig requires 22 of them. And what rock and roll show would be complete without the glitter ball? And it's not only heavy sound and lighting equipment that goes on tour with the band, but, hey presto, a portable high-tech production office in a box. And of course the band's wardrobe, manned by the inimitable Toots. But the man who pulls the whole crew together is production manager Andy Field. But what does he actually do?
Basically, the job of the production manager is to coordinate the whole production from beginning to end, really, from the time that we're given an initial outline of a tour. You know, if people say, oh, we're going to tour Japan or Australia, whatever. So it's everything to advance and coordinate the production. So all the design of the stage set, the backline equipment, all the musical equipment, all the fly cases, customs carnets, all the work visas for everybody, all the transportation, trucking, air freight, you know, coaches, hotels, generally everything really, including getting headache tablets and diarrhea tablets, you know, making sure people's wages are paid into the bank, and all the wives have contact sheets where they're going to be, and, you know, basically everything. You are really the worrying machine of the tour, really. That's initially what it is, you know, the fall guy. That's why I've got the hard hat on the pass, because there's so much flack, you know.
Some job, but like any other profession, there are big rewards at the top of the tree. People like Chops weren't actually born in a guitar case, you know, and like so many others, has given up a proper job to pursue this rather bizarre career. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, and a time when most people are thinking about packing up for the day. But Andy and his crew have just finished unpacking, and they're getting down to the serious business of a sound check. For them, the day is really just beginning. Hardly the dawn chorus. Each band member has their own personal technician who's there to set up, maintain and service the instrument in question. By now, it's fast and furious stuff as the backline technicians check the instruments. Everything has got to be 100%, because tonight, like any other night on tour, it's live. It's got to work first time. No retakes here. Everything's now working, and just as well, because the governors are here, at least with a few hours in bed behind them. I have a feeling they're going to need it. Steve, Ian, Mark, Pete, and that gentle giant of a frontman, the ubiquitous Fish, are now readying themselves for action. For Andy, so far so good. The day seems to be going well with no major problems. But it's not just France on the agenda. There's a whole planet out there to conquer, and he can help Marillion do just that, with a little help from his electronic friends.
It's like direct communication, more or less, 24 hours, because all you have to do really is get to a phone and you can telex anybody in the world and carry on travelling, really. You know, so because of the amount of hours and the travelling that we do, we can't always get people in the office or stuff like that, so just send them a telex and then you know that they've received it, and you know, you don't have to worry about keep calling them back and everything. Now, just starting on to America now for August and September, October. We're already working on stuff for November, December, for the British tour and the European tour, and also stuff for January, which we're going to Rio. So you're always working 6 months ahead, usually.
The band sound check, and a nervy time for the crew. Will it all still work? Each member builds up a close relationship with his musician, getting to know how each likes things done, becoming a team. It's the gelling of technician and musician that makes the magic. That is Marillion. Time too for a last tweak on the lights. Showtime is drawing near.
You get special effects, like in this one I have what they call slash drapes hanging off the back of the stage set, which are just silver thin strips bouncing light off onto the backdrop. And they've got colour changes in front of them. So you get this immense waving effect like water, if you want, on the backdrop. All sorts of little things. We have cloud projectors and gobo changes, colour mags in the air, 6 follow spots on it.
But what sort of person really wants to work 16 hours a day in this? Undoubtedly the unglamorous end of the music business.
It takes a rare breed of people, really, to be able to stand it. There's a lot of more qualified or physically endowed people that can't hack it, you know. You can usually tell within a week or two of somebody who comes into the business whether they're going to be in it for a short period of time or whether they're going to be in it for a lifetime. And if they take to it, then it does tend to be a career in a true sense, like show business. It does actually get into your blood.
For sound engineer Chris Hedge, otherwise known as Privet, no sound check can be too long. He's worked for Marillion producing that sound for a long time. It's all very well making a record in a studio, but live is another matter entirely. And a top band like Marillion need someone like Privet at the helm.
Well, I think it's just a completely different medium. I mean, though it may seem the same, it is very different. You see, in the studio you have time to go over and redo things, have more than one crack at it. But live, it's really, you're having to sort of like think on your feet all the time. But then, having said that, as the tour goes on, if you've got the right stuff coming out of the left and right outputs, then it's going to sound good. All you can do is make the speakers sound good. If the hall's horrible, then the hall's horrible. But yesterday's gig was one of the worst in Europe, definitely. I hate it. And then today is lovely. It's a bit harsh at soundcheck, but when it's full, it's lovely, hi-fi.
A last brush-up. It's not long till showtime. And a final slap of paint. Everything has to be perfect. Food, and about time. But it's all part of the wicky-wacky world of rock and roll. But what about the naughty bits everyone talks about?
There is the sex, drugs and rock and roll element, but in today's modern society of rock and roll, when you've got 10 or 12 articulated trucks full of equipment, the sex aspect really goes out the window because 3 hours sleep is much more worthwhile. and the rock and roll, well, that's for the musicians, you know. And the drugs, well, you know, they're around in society anyway, really. I mean, it's the people who are going to take them regardless of whatever profession they're in anyway, really. So it's not really the way it is. I mean, that was 1960, that was 1970, you know. The business has got its place in society now, and it's a professional job, you know. It's as simple as that, really.
Even for a now soiled and seasoned outfit like Marillion, there's always pre-gig tension, and especially tonight, a vital date in the French tour. As the Parisians await their heroes, so backstage in a different mood, the band await the audience. A sight, a sound, the might of a fish, and the crowd. It all spells magic. So Marillion finally hit the Paris stage, and thanks to the other band the fans never see, it's a fair assumption they'll be hitting another stage tomorrow night.
You sit there and ask me to tell you the story so far. This is the story so far.